Adrian Hale was a man the world admired from afar but no one truly knew. Billionaire CEO of Hale Industries. Young, impossibly brilliant, and emotionally unreachable. People knew his empire, his money, his power. But not the loneliness he carried like a shadow that never left. The closer his sister's wedding approached, the heavier that shadow became. For years, he walked into family events alone, enduring the same looks, the same pity, the same whispers. Poor Adrian, still broken. He never moved on after Evelyn. Success can't buy healing. He hated how easily people could summarize his pain. He hated how loudly their words echoed inside him long after the events ended. And he hated that deep down, they weren't wrong. So on a cold Tuesday morning, after yet another phone call where his sister begged him. Begged. Not to show up alone again. Adrian Hale made a decision he never imagined he would make. He would hire someone. Not a date. Not a girlfriend. A fake wife. A temporary illusion to silence the world and silence the ache inside him. That same afternoon, in a tiny apartment on the opposite side of the city, Amara Field stared at her cracked phone screen in disbelief. A contract offer. A secrecy clause. A large advance deposit. And one line that nearly made her drop the phone. Position, temporary spouse for family wedding events. She read it 3 times, whispering. Fake wife. As in, pretend wife. For a billionaire. It sounded ridiculous. It sounded unreal. It sounded like the kind of thing desperate people accepted. And she was desperate. Her father's medical bills were suffocating her. Her event decor job barely kept the lights on. And the compensation in the contract. That money could save everything. She whispered to herself, "You need this. You absolutely need this." Still, when she walked into the Hale Industries skyscraper the next morning, she felt like a flea entering a lion's den. Cold marble, glass walls, people in suits moving like machines. Nothing about this world felt like hers. She gave her name to the receptionist, her voice shaking. Moments later, a tall man in a fitted charcoal suit appeared, silent and unreadable. "Miss Fields," he said with a nod. "Follow me." He led her through a long hallway, and at the end of it, he opened the door to an office so large it looked like an executive museum. And there he was. Adrian Hale. The man himself. He didn't stand. He didn't smile. He barely looked up. He just scanned her from head to toe with a quiet intensity that made her straighten her posture immediately. Finally, he spoke. "Sit." She sat. Another long moment passed before he said. "You understand what this job entails?" Amara swallowed. "Pretending to be your wife, yes." "No," his voice was firm. "It's not pretending. It must look real. My family is observant. Very observant. If they sense a single crack in the story, everything collapses." "I understand. There will be holding hands, public closeness, shared rooms, family conversations, coordinated stories." She nodded. "And you will follow my lead." Another nod. Silence filled the room again like cold mist. Adrian closed the file in front of him. "Why did you accept this job?" Her stomach tightened. "I need the money." He studied her worn shoes, her cheap handbag, her trembling fingers. Then he surprised her. "Good. You're honest." Honesty mattered to him, more than she realized. He handed her the contract. "Read it carefully. Once you sign, we begin immediately." She looked down at the paper's pages of rules, schedules, payment details, and a list of personal information she needed to memorize. Her heart raced. Her signature could change her life. Her signature could ruin it. But she thought of her father's hospital room. She thought of the overdue notices piling on her table. She thought of the fear that never let her sleep. With a deep breath, she signed. Adrian took the papers, glanced at them, then extended his hand. His handshake was firm. Controlled. Barely warm. "Welcome, Mrs. Hale." Her breath hitched. Hearing that name directed at her felt strange, too heavy, too unreal. Adrian stepped back, keeping a professional distance. "We leave for the family estate tomorrow. Be ready by 8. She nodded and rose to leave, but his voice stopped her. "One more thing." She turned. "For the next 2 weeks, everyone must believe you are mine." Something in the way he said it made her chest tighten unexpectedly. She walked out of his office unsure of what scared her more. The lie she had agreed to live. Or the man whose world she had just stepped into. The next morning arrived faster than either of them expected. Amara barely slept. Her nerves kept her awake thinking, overthinking, imagining every worst-case scenario. What if his family hates me? What if I forget something? What if I ruin everything? By 7:45 a.m., she stood outside Hale Industries with her suitcase small, old, and slightly dented. It looked painfully out of place beside the sleek black Maybach that rolled to a stop in front of her. The door opened. Adrian stepped out. Perfectly tailored suit. Cold expression. A presence that commanded the air around him. He looked at her suitcase, then at her. "That's all you're bringing?" he asked. She nodded nervously. "Yes. I don't really have much." He didn't react, but something softened in his eyes for half a second, gone as quickly as it appeared. "Get in," he said simply. She climbed into the car, and it pulled away from the city. Silence filled the car like a third passenger. Adrian typed on his tablet, ignoring her completely. Amara sat stiffly, hands folded, trying not to fidget. The longer the silence stretched, the more suffocating it became. Finally, she whispered. "Can I ask something?" Adrian didn't look up. "You may." "Why me?" This time, he paused. Slowly, he set the tablet aside and turned his head toward her. His voice was calm, but honest. "Because you don't look like someone trying to impress anyone. Not my family. Not society. Not me." She blinked. Someone polished and perfect would have raised suspicion. "But you." He studied her face openly now. "You look real. Genuine. Someone people instantly trust." Her cheeks warmed. "I didn't mean that as an insult," he added. "It didn't sound like one." He held her gaze a moment longer than necessary, long enough to make her heartbeat quicken, but then he faced forward again. "We need to rehearse our story," he said. "Oh. Right." He took out a file from the side compartment. "Everything we say must align. Dates. Places. How we met. How long we've been married." "Married?" she squeaked. "We've been married for 4 months, he said matter-of-factly. The wedding was intimate. Private. Only close friends." Her eyes widened. "Married? 4 months. Yes. It explains why my family didn't meet you earlier." He handed her a sheet labeled "Our Love Story Memorize." She skimmed it. "Met at a charity gala." She accidentally spilled wine on him. They laughed. Began talking. Secret dates. Eloped in a vineyard. "This sounds romantic," she whispered. "It sounds believable," Adrian corrected. She nodded and read on. He watched her silently. The way her eyes moved. The way she bit her lip when she concentrated. The way she pushed her curls back every 2 minutes. He shook off the thought. He didn't have time for distractions. After 2 hours, the car drove through towering iron gates, revealing a mansion so enormous that Amara forgot how to breathe for a moment. It wasn't a house. It was an empire carved out of stone. She whispered, "This place is beautiful." "It's loud," Adrian muttered. "Loud? You'll understand soon." The car parked, and before Amara could touch the door handle, a woman burst out of the mansion screaming. Adrian. It was his sister, Liliana, radiant, emotional, energetic, and the complete opposite of Adrian. She ran straight to him, almost knocking him over with a hug. "You came. And you didn't come alone." Then her eyes landed on Amara. Liliana froze. Her mouth fell open. Slowly, tears welled in her eyes. "Oh my God," she whispered, "she's beautiful." Before Amara could react, Liliana grabbed her in a tight hug so warm Amara nearly melted into it. "We've waited so long to meet you," Liliana cried. "I can't believe you're finally here." Amara blinked rapidly. She wasn't used to being welcomed. She wasn't used to being wanted. Adrian stepped in gently. "Liliana, breathe," he said. "You're overwhelming her." "Oh. Sorry. Sorry. I'm just Adrian never brings anyone home. You must be very special." Amara's heart squeezed painfully. Amara," she said softly. "It's wonderful to meet you." Liliana practically glowed. "Come inside. Everyone is waiting." "Everyone? Waiting? For her?" Adrian leaned toward Amara and murmured. "Remember, follow my lead." She nodded. But her heart was racing. Inside, the entire living room was filled with relatives. Aunts. Uncles. Cousins. Old family friends. And at the center, Adrian's mother. Elegant. Graceful. Observing everything with sharp, intelligent eyes. When she saw Amara, she smiled a smile that carried years of hope and longing. "You must be Amara," she said warmly. "Welcome to the family." And then, she hugged her. A soft, maternal hug Amara hadn't felt in years. Amara's eyes burned unexpectedly. "Thank you, Mrs. Hale," she whispered. "Please," his mother said, touching her cheek gently, "call me Margaret." Adrian watched the interaction closely. No one hugged him like that anymore. No one touched him without hesitation. No one showed him warmth without expectation. But they were already embracing Amara. Accepting her. Loving her. A strange knot formed in his chest, jealousy, longing, and something he didn't dare name. Margaret stepped back, wiping a tear. "Adrian," she whispered, her voice cracking, "you finally found someone." The room erupted in applause, cheers, excitement. Amara fought the urge to shrink. This wasn't her world. These weren't her people. This wasn't her life. But she smiled soft, warm, believable. Adrian's hand found her lower back. A gentle, reassuring touch. A touch that startled her. He leaned in and whispered. "You're doing well." Her pulse jumped. His breath on her ear was far too warm. She stepped slightly away, pretending to fix her bag. Adrian's jaw tightened. Why did the distance bother him? He didn't know. But he didn't like it. Not at all. Dinner at the Hale estate wasn't dinner. It was a performance. Endless questions. Endless attention. Endless emotional pressure. How did you two meet? Who said, "I love you" first? What is Adrian like at home? Do you plan on having children? Where's the wedding album? Amara's heartbeat skyrocketed. She looked at Adrian, silently begging for help. He placed his hand gently over hers. And spoke. Calm. Smooth. Convincing. I spilled wine on her at the charity gala, he said, smiling in a way Amara had never seen. She laughed instead of getting angry. It was unexpected. The table melted into soft sighs. And after that, he continued, I kept finding excuses to see her. Liliana giggled. You. Adrian Hale made excuses. He squeezed Amara's hand. Yes, he said quietly. Amara has that effect. Heat flooded her cheeks. And for the first time since signing the contract. She wasn't sure he was entirely acting. Dinner continued, but something had shifted. Every time Amara laughed softly. Every time her hand brushed his. Every time she held his gaze a moment too long. Adrian felt it. A pull. A warmth. A danger he wasn't prepared for. He was a logical man, disciplined, structured, closed off. But nothing about this woman fit into the neat, controlled boxes of his life. And that terrified him more than anything. After dinner, the family insisted on showing them around the estate. Adrian kept a respectful distance, but Amara noticed how his eyes never left her, watching, checking, protecting. When the house tour finally ended, he led her quietly to their shared guest room. As soon as the door closed behind them, Amara exhaled loudly and collapsed onto the sofa. Oh my God, she whispered. Your family is overwhelming. Adrian smirked just a little. They care too much. That's an understatement, she laughed weakly. I think your aunt asked when we planned to get pregnant. She asks everyone that. They shared a look. A long, gentle, almost tender look. Adrian cleared his throat immediately, breaking the moment. You did well tonight, he said professionally. Amara raised a brow. Did you rehearse that line? Because you said it like a CEO reviewing a project report. He blinked. Then, unexpectedly, a tiny laugh escaped him. Real. Unforced. Human. Amara lit up. Wait, did you just laugh? No, he replied quickly. You must be imagining things. She grinned. He looked away. And the distance between them felt suddenly too small. As they unpacked, Amara suddenly froze. Adrian? Yes. There's only one bed. He didn't even look up. Of course. Of course. Married couples share beds, Amara. Her cheeks heated instantly. We don't have to actually sleep together. He glanced at her, calm, unreadable, yet faintly amused. Relax. I'll take the couch. Relief washed through her. But, she added softly, won't your family wonder why your back is broken in the morning? He gave her a look. She blushed. Never mind. While she changed clothes in the bathroom, Adrian sat on the couch, loosening his tie. He wasn't sure what to make of her. She wasn't polished. She wasn't calculating. She wasn't trying to seduce him or impress him. She was simply Amara. And that was what made her dangerous. When she finally stepped out of the bathroom in a loose t-shirt and leggings, he looked up. And forgot how to breathe for a moment. There was nothing seductive about her outfit. Yet something about her softness, her simplicity, her ease. It slipped under his skin. She didn't notice his stare. She simply sat on the edge of the bed, hugging a pillow. This is crazy, she whispered. What is this? All of this. Me pretending to be a billionaire's wife. Your family hugging me like I'm a blessing. Everyone asking us about our love story. She swallowed. It feels like stepping into someone else's life. Adrian looked at her for a long moment. And for the first time, he offered a piece of himself. I haven't felt like I belonged in my own life for a long time. She looked at him, really looked. What happened to you, Adrian? He stiffened. Walls. Cold air. Silence. But Amara didn't push. She simply whispered. You don't have to tell me. Not tonight. Something in her gentleness disarmed him. No one talked to him like that. No expectations. No pressure. Just empathy. She curled up in bed. He turned off the lights. And the two of them lay in the dark silence, stretching, emotions simmering, hearts beating too loudly. Sleep didn't come easily. Not for either of them. The Hale mansion woke early, buzzing with wedding preparations. But Adrian Hale? He woke to something entirely unexpected. Amara's sleepy face inches from his. At some point in the night, she must have rolled over onto the couch where he was. Her head rested on his shoulder, her arm draped across his chest. She looked peaceful. Comfortable. Safe. For a moment, he didn't move. He watched her breathing. The way her lashes fluttered. The small curls resting against her cheek. A softness spread through his chest, warm, unfamiliar. Then she stirred. Her eyes opened. And she froze. Oh my God, I must have rolled over. This is sorry. She stumbled off him, nearly tripping over her own feet. Adrian sat up slowly, clearing his throat. It's fine. It's not fine, she babbled. I literally used you as a pillow. It's fine, Amara. She blinked. He had never said her name like that before. Soft. Low. Almost affectionate. She felt her heart skip. But before either of them could say anything else, Liliana's voice blasted through the door. Breakfast. And don't take long, I need my maid of honor ready. Amara blinked. Maid of honor? Adrian sighed. I forgot to mention. Liliana wants you by her side today. What? Why? He checked his watch. She likes you. That's not a good reason. It is to her. Oh God. He almost smirked but stopped it. Come. Get dressed. You'll be fine. He opened the door for her. And for a moment, she saw something rare in his eyes. Something soft. Something new. Something dangerous. Breakfast was loud. Chaotic. Filled with laughter and questions and clinking dishes. Amara sat beside Adrian, trying to blend in. But blending in was impossible. Everyone adored her already. At one point, Adrian's cousin leaned in and asked. So, Amara, when did you realize you loved him? Amara froze, completely caught off guard. Her mouth opened. Closed. Opened again. Before she could form a lie, Adrian placed his hand over hers. His thumb brushed her knuckles gently. And he answered for her. She realized it before I did, he said softly, eyes fixed on her. She was patient with me. Even when I wasn't with myself. The entire table melted into chaos. But Amara wasn't listening to them. She was staring at Adrian. Because. That didn't sound like acting. Not at all. His eyes held hers too long. His voice was too warm. His hand lingered too long on hers. Her breath caught. He cleared his throat abruptly and pulled his hand back. She looked away quickly, cheeks burning. Liliana whispered to her. He's changed since meeting you. Amara swallowed. If only Liliana knew. Amara wasn't sure she could handle how he was looking at her now. As if he didn't just want her to play his wife. But wanted her to be one. The morning continued in a blur of wedding preparations. Guests arrived. Decorations filled every hallway. Liliana sprinted between rooms, overwhelmed with last-minute details. And Amara? She was pulled into everything. Dress fittings. Bridesmaid rehearsals. Family photos. Everywhere she turned, someone smiled at her. Spoke to her. Included her. For a woman used to being overlooked, it was jarring. But nothing was more jarring than how Adrian kept watching her. Quietly. Intently. Protectively. It was the kind of gaze that could warm a person. Or burn them completely. By noon, Amara needed air. She slipped out into the garden silent, blooming, peaceful. She inhaled deeply, letting the sun warm her face. "You okay?" She jumped. Adrian stood behind her, hands in his pockets, brows slightly raised. "I didn't hear you," she said breathlessly. "You didn't answer me," he murmured, stepping closer. "I'm fine." "You're lying." She swallowed. He took another step. "Amara, talk to me." Something in his tone cracked her open. He wasn't speaking as a boss. Or a billionaire. Or a man protecting his image. He was speaking as someone who genuinely cared. She looked down at her hands. "I'm not used to this," she admitted softly. "People hugging me. Asking me things. Treating me like I matter." "You do matter." She froze. He said it so simply. So sincerely. So unexpectedly. Her heart thumped hard. He watched her closely. Carefully. Like she was something fragile he wasn't sure how to hold. Then he surprised her again. "If this is too much for you," he said quietly, "I can find ways to ease the pressure. You don't have to face all of this alone." Her breath caught in her throat. "Why are you being so nice to me?" she whispered. He hesitated. Because the truth was too dangerous. Too vulnerable. Too real. "Because," he said slowly, "you've handled everything with grace. More than I expected." "Is that praise from the great Adrian Hale?" she teased softly. He looked away, a faint smile ghosting his lips. "Don't push it." But the smile stayed. And something unspoken passed between them. Warm, delicate, terrifying. Liliana dragged Amara away moments later for the final ceremony rehearsal. But halfway through, Liliana turned and whispered loudly. "Adrian. Come here." He walked over reluctantly. "Stand behind her," Liliana ordered. "Hold her waist. That's how you'll walk into the reception." Adrian's jaw clenched. "This isn't necessary." "Yes, it is," Liliana insisted. "You two are newlyweds. Act like it." He sighed but stepped behind Amara. Her breath hitched when his hands gently slid around her waist. She stiffened. So did he. The warmth of his touch was overwhelming. Dangerous. Addictive. Liliana clapped her hands. Closer. Adrian's breath brushed the back of Amara's neck. Her knees weakened. Perfect. Liliana beamed. Adrian's fingers tightened subtly at her waist to keep her steady. "Relax," he whispered into her ear. "I'm trying," she whispered back. Liliana squealed. "You two are adorable." But inside, both Adrian and Amara felt the same alarming truth. This didn't feel like acting anymore. Not even close. Later, while walking back to the main house, Adrian suddenly asked. "Do you regret taking this job?" The question caught her off guard. "No," she said honestly. "Do you regret hiring me?" He stopped. Turned. Looked at her with unreadable eyes. "No," he said quietly. "Not at all." Her heart fluttered. But before she could respond, the estate coordinator walked up, requesting Adrian's presence for business-related wedding details. He nodded and stepped away. Amara watched him go. Watched his rigid shoulders. His controlled steps. His carefully crafted silence. Something inside her ached. He was surrounded by luxury, yet he walked like a man carrying weight no one else could see. While Adrian handled logistics, Amara wandered back toward the house. She paused when she overheard two women gossiping near the staircase. "She's not his type," the first woman whispered. "Clearly," the second snorted. "She looks ordinary. And did you see her shoes? Cheap. Very cheap. Poor thing probably thinks this is real." The women laughed. "He'll get bored of her just like Evelyn." Amara felt her throat tighten. Her chest stung with humiliation. She stepped backward right into someone. Strong hands steadied her. "Easy," Adrian said quietly. Her eyes widened. He had seen the whole thing. He had heard everything. The two gossiping women froze when they realized who was behind them. Adrian stepped forward, calm, cold, lethal in his silence. "Apologize," he said softly. The women paled. "Yes, sir, we were just." "Apologize. To my wife." The room fell silent. The title struck Amara's heart like a spark. Wife. The women stammered apologies, shaking. Adrian didn't soften. When they scurried away, he turned to Amara. "Are you all right?" She shook her head. "No." His expression shifted. Concern. Guilt. Anger on her behalf. "Come with me," he said quietly. He took her hand. Not for the act. Not for the story. Not for the contract. But because he wanted to. He guided her to a quiet room and closed the door behind them. "Amara," he said softly, "look at me." She did. And her eyes were full. Not with tears. But with hurt she didn't want to show. "You shouldn't have to hear things like that," he said. "They had no right." A shaky breath escaped her. "It just got to me." "Because you care what they think?" "No," she whispered. "Because for a moment I cared about what you think." Silence. Heavy. Electric. Undeniable. Adrian took a single step closer. Too close. "Amara," he murmured, "I don't care about anyone's opinion but my own." She swallowed. "And what is your opinion?" He held her gaze. Steady, intense, earnest. "My opinion," he said slowly, "is that you're nothing like what they said." A pause. "You're better." Her breath hitched. His voice lowered. Stronger. Softer. Real. And then he brushed a thumb across her cheek. Barely a touch. Barely a breath. But enough to send shivers down her spine. "You're not ordinary," he whispered. "Not to me." Her heart nearly burst. But before anything more could happen, there was a knock on the door. "Adrian." Liliana shouted. "We need you. The florist is panicking." He inhaled sharply, stepping back from Amara. "We'll continue this later," he murmured. Then he opened the door and walked out. Amara stood there. Heart racing. Hands trembling. Mind spinning. What was happening between them? This was supposed to be a job. A performance. A lie. So why did it feel more real than anything she'd ever known? The moment Adrian stepped out to help with the florist, Amara leaned back against the wall, trying to gather herself. Everything felt too intense. His words. His touch. His protectiveness. This wasn't just a role anymore. Not for her. And from the way he looked at her. It wasn't for him either. But she reminded herself. It's temporary. It's pretend. It ends in 2 weeks. Even if her heart wasn't pretending anymore. The day moved at lightning speed. Decorators shouting. Bridesmaids panicking. Photographers arranging shots. The Hale estate transformed into a glowing paradise for the rehearsal dinner. Amara tried helping, but every time she bent to pick something up, someone insisted. No, no, you're the CEO's wife, let us handle it. It felt bizarre. Unreal. Like stepping into a life that didn't belong to her. As the sun began to set, she stood alone near the balcony, watching string lights flicker on. She felt a presence behind her. She didn't have to look to know who it was. Adrian stepped beside her, hands in his pockets. You disappeared, he said quietly. You were busy, she replied. He studied her face too closely. You look tired. I'm fine. No, he said softly. You're overwhelmed. Her lips parted. He was right. But she wasn't going to admit it. Your family is wonderful, she whispered. Warm. Loud. Loving. It's a lot. His gaze softened. You fit into it better than I do. She turned her head slowly. What do you mean? He looked away in a rare flash of vulnerability. I don't belong in chaos, he murmured. Or laughter. Or conversations that go nowhere. I'm good at business. Numbers. Decisions. A pause. I'm not good at people. You're good with me, she whispered before she could stop herself. His eyes darkened. Amara. The air thickened between them. His gaze dropped to her lips. Hers flicked to his. Then. Liliana screamed from downstairs. Amara. I need you in the dressing room. Adrian exhaled sharply, almost in frustration. Amara stepped back, clutching her hands. We should. Yes. His voice was low. Controlled. Dangerous. We should. But neither of them moved for a full 3 seconds. When they finally parted, both felt the electricity still burning in the air. The rehearsal dinner was magical. Gold lights. Soft violin music. Guests laughing with glasses of champagne. Amara wore a simple but elegant dress borrowed from Liliana, a soft blue gown that hugged her gently and made her look ethereal under the lights. The moment Adrian saw her, he forgot how to breathe. He walked toward her slowly, staring without blinking. You look. He stopped, searching for words. She swallowed. Is it too much? No. He took her hand. It's not enough. Amara's heart threatened to burst. They were seated together, but the table felt too small for the amount of tension between them. People asked them for stories about their marriage, their dates, their memories. Adrian spoke first. He told a story she didn't expect. When I first met Amara, he said, I didn't know she'd change everything. Amara choked on her drink. He continued, voice controlled but warm. She looked at me like she wasn't intimidated. Like she wasn't impressed by my name or my company. She saw me. The person. Not the CEO. The table, awed. Amara stared at him, stunned. That's when I knew, Adrian finished softly, that she was the one. Her heart squeezed painfully. This was supposed to be acting. But the way he spoke. It didn't sound like lies. After dinner, slow music filled the air. Couples drifted onto the dance floor. Adrian turned to her. May I? Her breath caught. You don't have to. I want to. She placed her hand in his. He pulled her gently into him. Her heartbeat thudded against his chest. His hand rested on her waist, warm, steady, possessive in a way that made her shiver. They moved slowly, silently. Too close for a fake marriage. Too intimate for a temporary arrangement. Amara finally whispered. Adrian, this is dangerous. I know. We shouldn't. I know. Then why aren't you letting go? He leaned closer. His lips brushed her temple. Because I don't want to. Her knees weakened. Adrian. He lowered his head until their foreheads touched. Tell me to let go, he whispered. She trembled. I can't. His grip tightened. Neither of them was acting anymore. Not even a little. The dance slowed. His hand slid gently up her back. Her fingers curled around his collar. He tilted her chin up with his thumb. She didn't stop him. Her breath hitched. Their lips were inches apart. He whispered. Amara. She closed her eyes. Just as he leaned in. Picture time. Liliana screamed. They both jolted apart as if burned. Amara stepped back, breath shaky. Adrian ran a hand through his hair, frustrated. Liliana pulled them away, scolding. You two are so romantic I don't even have to tell you what to do. Come on, picture time. But Amara felt dizzy. Because she knew. If Liliana had walked in 2 seconds later, Adrian Hale would have kissed her. And she would have kissed him back. Hours later, after everyone went to bed, Amara stood on the balcony outside their room. The night was quiet. Cold. Too still for her racing emotions. The door opened behind her. Adrian stepped out. You're awake, she said. So are you. They stared at each other. Too long. Too deeply. He walked closer. Amara, he began, voice low, I need to say. Don't, she whispered. He stopped. If you say something now, something real. Her voice broke. I won't be able to pretend tomorrow. He looked at her with something raw in his eyes. Hurt. Want. Conflict. Amara, he murmured, this hasn't been pretending for a while. Her breath caught painfully. Don't say that, she whispered. He took her hand. I have to. She shook her head, eyes shining. Adrian, this was supposed to be simple. It stopped being simple the moment I met you. Her tears slipped down her cheek. And what happens when the contract ends? Silence. Deep. Dangerous. Final. Adrian didn't answer. Because he didn't know. Because he was afraid. And because the truth terrified him. If he let this continue, he might never be able to let her go. The next morning arrived far too quickly. Sunlight poured through the curtains, warm and golden, but neither Adrian nor Amara felt warm inside. The air between them was thick with everything they almost said and everything they almost did. Amara lay on her side of the bed, pretending to sleep. Adrian lay on the couch, pretending not to look at her. But both were fully awake. And both were thinking the same terrifying thought. I want something I'm not allowed to want. When Amara finally sat up, she found Adrian already dressed, white shirt, navy suit, tie perfectly in place. He looked flawless, as usual. Morning, she said softly. He turned. Morning. Silence stretched again. It wasn't cold. It wasn't tense. It was loaded. He cleared his throat. There's breakfast downstairs. My mother asked for you specifically. She tried to smile. Right. I'll be there. As she stood to pass him, her hand brushed his a simple touch. But both froze. Her breath hitched. His fingers twitched. Then he stepped away too quickly. Get ready, he said, voice lower than usual. I'll meet you there. He walked out fast. As if staying 1 second longer would break him. Amara stared at the door long after it closed. She whispered to herself. Why does he make this so hard? Downstairs, the house buzzed with wedding excitement. Amara sat beside Margaret, Adrian's mother, who gently patted her hand. Sleep well, dear. Yes, thank you, Amara replied quietly. Margaret smiled knowingly. You and Adrian seem close. Amara nearly choked. What? It's in the way you look at each other, Margaret said warmly. Like two people who found something unexpected. Amara's heart pounded. She shook her head quickly. Oh no, no, it's not. You don't have to hide it from me, Margaret whispered. I'm a mother. I can see love before the people in it do. Amara froze. Love? No. Impossible. Not allowed. Still, the word stuck to her chest like glue. Before she could respond, Adrian walked in and took his seat beside her. He smelled freshly showered, expensive, devastatingly attractive. He quietly placed a napkin beside her plate. A small gesture. But careful, thoughtful. Margaret saw it. And smiled to herself. After breakfast, Margaret suggested Amara help Adrian choose a suit for the wedding ceremony. Amara tried to decline, but Margaret insisted with a wink. Go. My son needs a woman's eye. They walked down the hallway toward Adrian's old room. Silence again. Finally, Adrian spoke without looking at her. You avoided me this morning. Only because you ran out of the room, she shot back. He blinked. Amara, I didn't run. You practically sprinted. He sighed, rubbing the back of his neck. I didn't want to make things more complicated. She stopped walking. More complicated for who? You. Me. He turned to her slowly. For both of us. Her voice lowered. Adrian, something is happening between us. He didn't deny it. He didn't deflect. He didn't retreat behind cold CEO logic. Instead, he stepped closer. Something has been happening since the moment you walked into my office, he said quietly. Her breath caught. He moved even closer. Close enough that she felt the warmth of his body. Something I didn't plan for. Another step. Something I don't know how to stop. Another step. Something I'm not sure I even want to stop. Their faces were inches apart. Amara's voice trembled. Adrian. He lifted his hand, slowly. And brushed a curl away from her cheek. Tell me, he murmured. Do you feel it too? She couldn't speak. Her heart was pounding too loudly. So she nodded. Just once. His eyes darkened. Not with anger. But with longing so deep she could feel it in her bones. Then we have a problem, he whispered. A painful, beautiful problem. He leaned in. And the universe seemed to hold its breath. But just before his lips touched hers, Liliana burst around the corner. Guys! Ceremony rehearsal in 5 minutes. They jumped apart like guilty teenagers. Adrian pinched the bridge of his nose, exhaling sharply. Amara's cheeks were crimson. Liliana blinked between them suspiciously. Why do you look like you were doing something illegal? Adrian glared. Liliana. She grinned mischievously. Fine, fine. But hurry. You're both needed. As she disappeared down the hall, Adrian and Amara stood frozen. Pulse racing. Lips tingling. Hearts trembling. One more second. And everything would have changed. The rehearsal took place in the decorated ballroom. Adrian and Amara stood in the back, waiting for their cue. Suddenly, a handsome groomsman approached Amara with a flirty smirk. Hi, I'm Mason, he said. Haven't seen you around before. Adrian's jaw tightened immediately. Amara offered a polite smile. Oh, I. You look stunning, Mason added, eyes lingering too long. Adrian stepped between them, expression ice-cold. She's married, he said flatly. Mason glanced between them. Oh. Right. The new wife. Nice to meet you. Good, Adrian said, not hiding the edge in his voice. Now go. Mason walked off, clearly uncomfortable. Amara stared at Adrian. You didn't have to be so. Yes, Adrian said firmly. I did. She blinked. Are you jealous? He looked away sharply. No. You are. I'm not. Adrian. He closed his eyes. Fine, he muttered. I didn't like the way he looked at you. A smile tugged her lips. Why not, she whispered. He opened his eyes again. And the truth slipped out before he could stop it. Because you're not his. Her heart stopped. And for the first time, Adrian realized what he had said. He swallowed hard. I mean. No, she cut him off softly. Don't take it back. Their eyes locked. Electricity. Awareness. Undeniable truth. They were called to their position. As they practiced, walking arm in arm, her hand slipped around his elbow. His arm pressed lightly against her waist. Their bodies fit too well. Too naturally. At the end of the aisle, they turned to face each other. And the moment stretched. His eyes dropped to her mouth. Hers softened, lips parting slightly. He leaned in. And Liliana yelled from across the hall. Stop being cute, you two. Focus. Adrian muttered under his breath. For once. I wish she'd be quiet. Amara giggled. And Adrian stared at her, heart twisting. He had never wanted someone this much. Not even Evelyn. Not like this. Never like this. Later that day, as the sun dipped low, Amara walked into the small library to escape the noise. She found Adrian already there, leaning against a shelf, staring at nothing. He didn't turn when she entered. She walked slowly toward him. Adrian. He finally looked at her. And something in his expression made her heart ache. He wasn't cold. He wasn't distant. He looked lost. Talk to me, she whispered. He closed his eyes briefly, then spoke. I thought bringing someone here would make things easier. A pause. But you've made everything harder. Her breath caught. He continued, voice rough. I can't think straight around you. I can't focus. I can't pretend this is just a contract anymore. She stepped closer. Adrian. His eyes dropped to her lips again. You're in my head, he said softly. In my thoughts. In every room I walk into. Her heart beat painfully. I don't know how to stop wanting you. Silence. Then. She whispered. Maybe you're not supposed to. His control shattered. He reached for her, pulling her gently against him, not kissing her, not yet, but holding her like someone afraid she might disappear. Her hands slipped around his waist. His breath trembled against her forehead. And just like that, the lie that brought them together became the truth that bound them. The library was dim and quiet, lit only by a single lamp that cast soft gold light across the room. Adrian held Amara like she was the only steady thing in his world. Her head rested against his chest. His fingers lingered on her waist. Their breathing synced, slow, fragile, dangerously intimate. Neither spoke. Neither needed to. Everything between them was loud without making a sound. Finally, Adrian pulled back just enough to look at her face. Amara. His voice trembled, an unfamiliar crack. She searched his eyes. What is it? He took a shaky breath. There's something I haven't told you. Her body stiffened. A cold ripple of fear ran through her. What kind of something? She whispered. He swallowed hard. I didn't hire you just to avoid pity, he said quietly. I didn't hire you because I needed a placeholder. Her chest tightened. I hired you because. Bang. The library doors burst open. Liliana stood frozen in the doorway, panting. Oh, thank God I found you. Mom's crying, Dad's yelling, the caterer quit, the wedding arch collapsed, and the florist is threatening to leave. Amara blinked. Is everything okay? No. Nothing is okay. We're doomed. Adrian sighed, jaw tightening. What do you need? Both of you, Liliana gasped. I need your help. Adrian stepped back quickly, composure snapping back into place. Amara felt the loss of his warmth instantly. Both followed Liliana out of the room. But the moment they stepped into the hallway, everything they built, everything they confessed, everything they almost said, hung unsaid between them. Heavy. Dangerous. Unresolved. The rest of the day spiraled into chaos. A broken generator. A missing ring box. A drunk groomsman. A crying flower girl. For hours, Adrian and Amara barely shared a moment alone. But even in separate rooms, their eyes found each other. At dinner. In hallways. Across crowds. Each glance said the same thing. We need to talk. But that talk never came. Because the universe had other plans. Later that evening, Amara slipped away to the back terrace for some quiet. Her heart was too full. Her mind too loud. She pressed her hands to her face and whispered. What am I doing? What am I letting myself feel? This was supposed to be simple. But before she could sort through her emotions, two voices drifted from around the corner. Women's voices. Cold. Cruel. Familiar. She froze. They hadn't seen her yet. And their words sliced straight into her chest. Honestly, I didn't think Adrian would bring someone so plain, the first woman sneered. Oh please, the second scoffed. He didn't bring her. He hired her. Amara's blood ran cold. The first woman laughed. It's obvious. She's acting like she belongs here, but she doesn't fool me. The second added sharply. And if Adrian thinks his mother will accept some nobody as a real wife, he's delusional. Amara's throat closed. Her fingers trembled. She stepped back instinctively. Her heel tapping the stone floor. The voices stopped. A slow smirk spread across the first woman's face as she stepped into view. Oh. There she is. The other followed. Well, well. Eavesdropping? Or just hiding because you know we're right? Amara swallowed hard. I wasn't hiding, she said quietly. Oh honey, the first woman purred, you've been hiding since you got here. The other whispered loudly. Do you think the rest of the family will find out what you really are? A paid actress? Amara's chest tightened painfully. I'm not an actress, she whispered. The woman smirked. No. You're worse. And then came the line that shattered Amara. You're temporary. Her eyes burned. She turned to leave. But Adrian stood behind her. He must have been looking for her. He must have heard everything. His expression darkened into something dangerous. Sharp. Cold. Lethal. He stepped past Amara and faced the two women. Leave, he said in a voice so low it vibrated through the air. They stiffened. Adrian. Now. His tone was ice. The women burst away in terror. Silence fell. Adrian turned slowly to Amara. Her eyes glistened. Her shoulders trembled. He took a step toward her. Amara. She shook her head, stepping back. Don't. His brows knotted. Amara. Don't, she repeated, voice cracking. He froze. Her voice trembled with a pain she could no longer contain. They're right, she whispered. I am temporary. Adrian's chest tightened. That's not. You hired me, she said, choking on the words. You brought me here as a contract. A deal. A cover-up. Nothing more. His face fell. No. He stepped closer. It hasn't been that for a long time. She stepped back faster. Adrian, listen to yourself, she cried softly. You feel something now, yes. But you didn't choose me. You didn't want me. You didn't love me. Tears rolled down her cheeks. You hired me. He flinched. The truth of it hit him like a punch. Amara. No, she whispered. You can't undo how it started. He moved closer. She stepped away. For the first time since they met. Amara looked at him with fear. Not of him. Of herself. Because if I stay near you any longer. Her voice broke completely. I'm going to fall in love with a man who will never really be mine. Adrian's eyes widened. He reached for her. Amara. She took another step back. Please don't touch me. Something inside him cracked. For the first time in years. Adrian Hale felt helpless. Utterly helpless. Amara wiped her tears quickly, breathing hard. I need space, she whispered. Then she turned. And walked away. Adrian stood frozen as she disappeared down the hall. The strong, composed, untouchable CEO. Felt his world collapse. He leaned against the wall, jaw trembling. He finally admitted to himself. He wasn't scared of what he felt for Amara. He was terrified. Terrified because she wasn't meant to matter. But she did. More than anything. She wasn't meant to break through his walls. But she had. Without even trying. She wasn't meant to steal his heart. But she had. Completely. And now. She was slipping away. Because of how he brought her here. Because of how it started. Because he waited too long to tell her the truth. Upstairs, Amara locked herself in the bathroom. She leaned over the sink, shaking. She stared at her reflection. A woman dressed in borrowed clothes. In a mansion she didn't belong in. Falling for a man she was never meant to love. She whispered through tears. You stupid girl. Why did you let this happen? She wiped her face. But nothing stopped the ache. Why did you fall for him? Her voice broke. And why does it hurt so much knowing it's ending soon? She sank to the floor. And cried for the first time in years. 30 minutes later, Amara returned to the room. Adrian wasn't there. Not on the couch. Not pacing the floor. Not sitting by the window. He was gone. On the nightstand, she found a single note in his sharp handwriting. Take the bed tonight. We'll talk in the morning. Her heart clenched. Talk. About what? Then her chest tightened painfully. What if he regrets everything, she whispered to herself. She lay in bed, alone, staring at the ceiling. Down the hallway, in the empty study, Adrian sat in the dark. Head in his hands. Heart in pieces. Wondering how he could fix what he never meant to break. The mansion was quiet that night, too quiet. Amara lay in the massive bed, staring at the ceiling with swollen eyes. Every time she closed them, she saw Adrian's face. His expression when she pulled away. The way his jaw tightened when she said she needed space. The pain he tried so hard to hide. And the worst part? The truth she admitted. I'm going to fall in love with a man who will never really be mine. She had already fallen. Deeply. Completely. Helplessly. And now she didn't know if she could survive the landing. Hours passed, but sleep refused to come. Adrian sat in the dark study, elbows on his knees, hands clasped tightly. He didn't look like a billionaire CEO. He looked like a man drowning in regret. Every word she said replayed in his mind. You hired me. I'm temporary. You didn't choose me. You didn't love me. He pressed his palms to his face. She was right. And that's what gutted him. He whispered into the darkness. I should have told you sooner. Because the night before, he had tried. In the library. Right before Liliana barged in. He had tried to tell her the truth. The real truth. That the contract wasn't the reason he brought her here. That he chose her the moment she walked in. Soft. Nervous. Real. And something inside him cracked open. That he didn't want a pretend wife. He wanted a chance to feel again. But he waited. And waited too long. He leaned back in the chair, staring at the ceiling in quiet agony. For the first time in years, he whispered the words he was afraid to admit even to himself. I love her. The confession hung in the air, raw and fragile. And terrifying. Because he wasn't sure if he'd already lost her. Sunlight filtered through the curtains when Amara finally drifted into a restless sleep. She woke to the sound of soft knocking. Amara? Liliana's voice called gently. We need you for makeup. The wedding is in a couple of hours. Amara sat up, forcing herself to breathe. Professional. Calm. Pretend nothing is wrong. Yes, I'm coming. She dressed slowly, choosing one of Liliana's dresses. A soft cream-colored gown that felt too gentle for her bruised heart. By the time she reached the bridal suite, the room was buzzing. Bridesmaids chatting. Makeup artists working. Liliana holding a champagne glass and crying happy tears. Oh my God, Amara. Liliana pulled her into a hug immediately. You look beautiful. Thank you, she whispered. You okay? Liliana asked suddenly, lowering her voice. Amara forced a smile. Just tired. Liliana tilted her head, suspicious. But she didn't push. Amara settled into a chair. Brushes touched her face. Hands adjusted her hair. Voices swirled around her. But her mind was miles away. Down the hall. In the study. Where Adrian had spent the night. Was he thinking about her? Was he regretting everything? Was he wishing he'd chosen someone else? Her heart twisted painfully. She blinked back tears. Not now. Not here. Not in front of his family. One bridesmaid whispered. You're lucky, you know. Adrian Hale is incredible. Amara swallowed. Lucky. If only she felt that way. Meanwhile, Adrian stood alone in his old bedroom, adjusting his tie in the mirror. He looked like the perfect groom. But he wasn't the groom today. And he didn't feel perfect. His reflection stared back at him cold, controlled. But underneath, he saw the truth. He saw the man afraid to lose someone he wasn't allowed to love. There was a knock. Margaret stepped in. His mother. Her presence softened something inside him. Adrian, she said gently, come sit with me. He obeyed. She sat beside him on the edge of the bed and took his hand. You're troubled, she whispered. He stared at the floor. Just wedding stress. No, she shook her head. It's something else. I can see it in your eyes. Adrian's jaw clenched. Margaret added softly. It's Amara, isn't it? He froze. His mother squeezed his hand. Adrian, you look at her the way your father used to look at me. He swallowed hard. I'm not supposed to feel this, he whispered. But you do. He nodded. And you're afraid you'll lose her. He closed his eyes. Margaret placed a hand on his cheek and whispered. Then don't. His eyes snapped open. Go to her, she said with quiet strength. Fix whatever is broken. Don't wait. Don't assume. Don't let pride ruin something real. He felt a weight lift and a new fear replace it. What if it's too late? Margaret smiled sadly. Love is only too late when you stop trying. Her words hit him like a pulse. He stood. Where is she? In the bridal suite. He nodded once, heart pounding, breath tight. He was going to her. To fix this. To tell her the truth. And hope it wasn't too late. Amara stepped aside from the chaos of the bridal suite, hiding in a corner for a moment of peace. Her throat was tight. Her stomach twisted. Her eyes glossy. She whispered to herself. You leave after the wedding. Just a few more hours. Hold it together. But the moment the door to the suite opened, she froze. Adrian walked in. Perfect suit. Hair styled. Eyes locked on her. Her breath stuttered. Everyone else in the room faded. It was just him. And her and everything between them. He walked straight to her. Amara, he said softly. She stepped back. No, she whispered. Please, not now. We need to talk. I can't, she breathed. Not today. Not before the wedding. Amara. Adrian, please, she begged. I can't pretend everything's fine. And I can't break apart in front of your family. Her voice cracked. He swallowed hard. Then don't pretend, he whispered. She looked up sharply. Eyes shining. Heart trembling. He stepped closer. Yesterday. I hurt you. She looked away. Yes, she whispered. You did. And I hurt myself, he added softly. Her breath hitched. He reached toward her. Slow. Gentle. Careful. But he didn't touch her. Not yet. Amara, he whispered, voice breaking. I'm terrified of losing you. Tears slipped down her cheek. She shook her head. Why? She whispered. I'm nobody. He stepped closer. No, he said firmly. You're everything. Her lips parted in shock. He took a deep breath. And finally said the words he'd been holding. The words that changed everything. I love you. Her world stopped. Completely. And she whispered, barely breathing. Adrian. But before he could say more, someone burst into the room. The ceremony is starting. And everything hung in the air. Unfinished. Unspoken. Unresolved. As they were dragged toward the wedding hall. The wedding hall glowed with soft candlelight. White roses framed the aisle. A string quartet played gentle melodies that drifted across the estate like warm summer wind. But Amara barely heard any of it. Her heart was pounding too loudly. Adrian Hale. The man she feared she could never have. Had just told her he loved her. Not as part of the act. Not for the family. Not under pressure. Raw. Broken. Honest. But she hadn't answered. She hadn't had the chance. And now she was sitting in the front row, pretending to watch the ceremony, while her entire soul trembled. Her hands shook. Her breathing was uneven. Her mind ran in circles. What if he didn't mean it? What if he regrets saying it? What if I imagined it? What if I break my heart believing him? But at the same time, what if it was real? What if he truly felt it? What if this wasn't temporary? Tears pricked her eyes. She forced herself to focus on the ceremony. Liliana walked down the aisle, radiant and glowing. She exchanged vows with her groom, the hall erupting in soft gasps and smiles. Amara smiled too. But the ache inside her didn't go away. Because each beautiful word the couple said reminded her of something she might never have. A love chosen freely. A love not built on contracts. A love she didn't have to walk away from. Across the aisle, Adrian couldn't keep his eyes off Amara. She looked beautiful. But she also looked far away. Lost inside her thoughts. Lost inside the pain he caused. Every second they weren't talking felt like a lifetime. He wanted to stand up, cross the aisle, pull her into his arms, and say it again. I love you. I love you. I love you. But he couldn't. Not in front of the entire family. Not while the wedding ceremony continued. He swallowed hard, chest tight. His mother's earlier words echoed in his mind. Fix whatever is broken. Don't wait. Don't assume. Don't let pride ruin something real. He wouldn't. He couldn't. He was done running. As the ceremony ended and applause filled the hall, Adrian stood quickly. He had one mission. Find Amara. Tell her everything. Fight for her. He searched the hall, weaving through guests. He finally spotted her slipping toward the side garden. Of course. She always went where the world was quieter. He followed her. Heart trembling. Hands sweating. For once in his perfect, controlled life Adrian Hale was terrified. Amara stood near the fountain, hugging her arms tightly around herself. The sound of running water made her tears slip more easily. She whispered to the night. Why did I fall for him? Then. Amara. His voice. Soft. Careful. Shaken. She turned slowly. Adrian stood a few feet away. Eyes raw. Tie loosened. Breathing uneven. He looked like a man stripped of every wall. A man bearing his soul. She inhaled shakily. You shouldn't be here. The reception. Can wait. He stepped closer. I can't. Her breath caught. He swallowed hard. Amara. You left before I could explain. She looked away. There's nothing to explain. You said what you said, maybe in the moment, maybe under pressure. No, he cut in gently. I meant every word. Adrian. I love you. The words hit her like a wave. He moved closer. I love you, he repeated, voice breaking. Not because of the contract. Not because of the story we rehearsed, not because of the illusion. He stepped closer again. So close she felt his warmth. I love you because you saw me when no one else did. Tears filled her eyes. You make me laugh. You make me think. You make me want to be a better man. You make this cold, empty life feel warm again. Her lips trembled. And I should have told you sooner. I should have told you before a stupid contract and even stupider rumors hurt you. I should have told you the moment I realized it. When was that? She whispered. He exhaled shakily. The day you walked into my office. She covered her mouth. His voice lowered, trembling. Amara. I never hired you because I needed a fake wife. Her eyes widened. Then why? He stepped closer. Finally close enough to touch her cheek. I hired you because I needed a reason to feel something again. A tear slipped down her cheek. He wiped it gently. And you were the one. From the beginning. You were always the one. Her chest swelled painfully. But fear still lingered. Adrian, what if this isn't real? What if you wake up tomorrow and realize you let emotions cloud your judgment? What if I'm just convenient because I was here? His expression softened, deep, serious, tender. You think I'm capable of confusing convenience for love? She looked at the ground. He cupped her chin gently. Look at me. She did. His eyes were full of truth. You're not convenient, he whispered. You're irreplaceable. Her breath broke. And I don't want someone else. Not for 2 weeks. Not for a wedding. Not for an act. Another step closer. I want you. Amara's heart finally cracked open. Adrian, she whispered. He moved even closer. If you don't want this, if you don't want me, I'll respect that. I'll let you walk away. She blinked rapidly. But if you feel even a fraction of what I feel. He swallowed. Please don't go. Her tears fell freely now. She whispered. I do feel it. His shoulders sagged with relief. I feel everything, she breathed. And it terrifies me. He smiled, soft, broken, beautiful. It terrifies me too. A silence passed between them. Warm, sweet, electric. Then Amara whispered the words that sealed everything. I love you too. Adrian exhaled like he'd been underwater for years. And finally. He kissed her. Not gently. Not slowly. Not cautiously.